Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, non-technological wizard here, with the wonderful help of Mandy Haynes, who got me online. We are here tonight at my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. I'm home at last. And now I have all these people joining me, including our featured author for tonight, TK or Teresa Thorne. Hey, TK, in Birmingham, Alabama. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad we're all on board, everybody. And what a fall this has been. Any comments?
What, a call or a fall?
I think it can go either way, call or fall. It's been
it just started.
it
Both.
it just started, but October has been a very interesting month for me. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm so happy to see you because I'm missing our book and film club, y'all. I'm really missing it. And I am here for tonight, but of course, I'm going to be on the road coming right up. Another adventure that I did not see coming. We've had a death in my hometown of Heidi Server Scriber's father, they were my neighbors growing up. So I'm going home to Kansas to be with Heidi and all her girls and see my cousin Cindy. So, my friend Barbara's keeping the cats. So my house is secure. Anybody who thinks I'm not here, she's got a shotgun. So anyway, we're here tonight. I need your help as being a former police law enforcement officer, TK. What's going on in your life?
Oh, Lord. Since the pandemic, writing has been really hard, but I found a secret that's sort of shaken loose my creativity, and it's one you know very well, which is I've started watercolor painting. And I started that in February with actually little Zen doodle things. I don't know if you know what those are, but think about doodling on the edge of the page and then you'll be close. But
there's something about working with our hands while our mind is sorting out all the things that are going on in our lives to make us confused and dazed and confused. It's very, for me, it's very much been a helping tool. It's like art therapy. It's art therapy. So good for you. Do you have something you can show us?
Show you?
Yeah.
I could. Am I able to share screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did you make it able to?
Yeah, I seem to be able to, but I'll have to go pull it up. So y'all talk for just a second and I'll pull it up.
Well, what's the weather like where everybody is? It was 70s today and it's dropping fast. I had to quickly pull on a poncho. I was freezing in my house and a cold front's coming in. What's it like there, everybody? We've got Ruthie up in Chicago. You know it's cold. Right?
Windy.
Windy? What? In Chicago?
It's quite balmy actually at 57. I'm very happy that it's 57. It feels quite beautiful. At night it's going to 32 though.
Okay.
All right, time to bring the plants in.
Oh my gosh, look at you. Look at that, Mandy.
That's really nice, TK.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
very nice. Look at you.
Wow.
I love it.
This is the art gallery here.
I love this.
Thank you.
Tail and moonlight. Look at that tail. What inspired you to do these?
Well, this one, I saw an actual photograph of it and I loved it so much. It just piqued my imagination that I put it, on my, I forgot the word, desktop for years. And then this year when I started painting, I said, I'm going to paint that. I put the moon in there, but otherwise it's kind of based on the photo. And the photo, I think, looking at the way they did light, I think it was, maybe a National Geographic or some professional group, because they had it was nighttime and they had enough light on it to make all this sparkly.
It looks
I
like
love
the
it.
moon hit his tail and then reflecting in the water. It's great. I love
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Rolling. Look at you. Now, where's
This is-
that?
This is actually an old barn on the way to my sister's house that I just saw, and there was just a mood about it that captured me. So this was kind of an early painting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I did for my nephew.
Wow.
Yeah. He said, I told him I was going to paint something for him, and he said, "Great." I said, "What do you like?" He said, "I like space." And he said, "I like planets." I said, "What's your favorite planet?" And he said, "Uranus." That only, a 9-year-old could say like that. It's so delighted to be able to say that and not be a bad word. So I didn't do Uranus, but I gave him his own galaxy.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
This is great. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty.
This is a little waterfall in Bankhead Forest in Alabama. And I had been there with a friend. And then I went to the beach.
Fort Morgan. Woohoo. I love it.
Yes, Fort Morgan. And this is the Bon Secours Refuge. Well, I didn't mean to make it bigger. I was trying to make it smaller.
Well, I love it. Oh, wow.
So
Lots
that-
of
that's-
beach scenes, Mandy.
Well, we were like 3 days on the beach, and this is my
Oh, little
Uh,
female.
a little cardinal. That was the hardest thing I've tried to do because those wing feathers are just hell. But I did it.
That's watercolor, TK?
Yes, yes.
And so yeah, watercolor is hard.
That could be a Christmas card. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Kathleen. She's like the cardinal girl.
And
I
this,
used to- yeah, I love this. I love
Aw.
boxer.
okay, so this is, I'm going to give this to my grandson tomorrow night when we meet for dinner. He said he was going to draw me some things, and I think they're something from some little game that they play. And I said, "That's great, and I'll paint you something. What do you like?" And he said, "I like boxers."
I
So
bet
this
he's
is his
sending you a
boxer.
picture of an alien.
Well, I did a dinosaur for my other nephew. It was a Spinosaurus, which I'd never heard of, but it's a real dinosaur.
Look
He
at that
knows it's
eye.
dinosaurs.
That eye is incredible. You can just see
Yeah.
its focus. It's in the nose. Very good. And how long
Thank you.
have you been doing this?
Well, since the Zen Doodle started in February, so sometime between February and maybe March, I started playing with actual watercolors. Probably in March.
Dang,
Have you-
TK.
Had you ever done this before?
No,
Wow.
never.
Wow.
Never have. But I've always, I can remember going to art museums and walking up real close to the painting and like squinting at it to try to see what they did. So I think that desire had already been in me, but two things. One, writing just, kind of took my life. And the other was when I was a little girl, my sister was the middle child, and I was the straight A student in school, and my brother is a genius. At that, when he was young, he was an obnoxious genius, but he's grown out of that. But my sister was in the middle and didn't do that great at school, and I think it was because she had eye issues and she couldn't read because she couldn't focus her eyes. But anyway, she went down the art path, and she was wonderful. And so I was like, I'm not going there,
Uh-huh.
She had to compete with me at school, so I'm just not going there. But I will say that now as adults, when I started this, she has been my biggest cheerleader. So
Aw.
that's really nice.
But
That's it.
TK, so I drew
Yes,
this
ma'am.
self-portrait.
Okay.
But
Oh, Robert.
right
I
there.
think that would be a beautiful
That is
Christmas
awesome.
card.
It's a self-portrait and I'm naked.
A beautiful Christmas card.
He's naked. He's naked.
Naked,
He
not
doesn't have
naked,
his
not
glasses on.
nude. He's not nude. He's and not naked. He's naked.
Naked.
That's Southern
With no glasses on.
with no glasses on. That's right.
I'm naked and can't see.
You know, I have this philosophy about art. You give me anybody, I don't care who it is. And I'm the same way as somebody who says they don't read. Give me a minute with them and I'll show you that it's because what you've been taught. You have somehow learned that you're not a good reader or you're not a good artist. And when in fact, everybody has the ability to create, to read, they just have to find something that interests them. So you found things that interest you, Teresa, and you're multi-talented. I mean, my gosh, you've been a law enforcement officer. You've written fiction, nonfiction. Now you're doing the art. You've got these horses that you've rescued. I mean, you're kind of a Renaissance woman. You're doing it all, but aren't we all really? I mean, and especially in COVID, I had this crazy thought today. I had to go to the grocery store or the dollar store to get some cat food, and it's been a real dilemma because they're not getting their trucks. So I think, what am I going to give my cats if I can't get cat food? But I thought this must be what it's like in Russia when you go to the store. You have to kind of go, oh, look, they have no dairy this week. So we're going to have to go this way. It's a challenging world today. And
Yes.
we're all adapting. And
Yes.
does anybody else have that problem when they're going to the store, seeing empty shelves?
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah,
It's crazy.
pretty bare.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, where does cat food come from? China? I couldn't figure out. I think, it makes you wonder about where does cat food come from? Why can't we get it? So they never have any. So I really stock up when they get it in, but it's like toilet paper. So back to the books. Let's talk about your books. I'm kind of off.
Oh, books.
Yeah, we're a book club. We're the internet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you've written how many books?
I think 8.
It's a lot. And
Yeah.
you're kind of all over the place, but the
Kinda. I am all over the place.
one that we're discussing is, of course, the one that we picked this year. And tell us about the premise of this book, because these are being recorded for, there we go. So I've got my copy, there we go.
It looks just like mine almost.
Except mine says the uncorrected proof. So
Yeah.
anyway, tell us about this story. I mean, where's this all come from?
Well, I will tell you how I came to write this book. And to do that, I kind of have to go back, if you'll just excuse me, to go back.
I feel like a submarine's going on. Do you hear
I
that?
know, what is that?
I feel like Voyage to the Center of the Earth or something.
Maybe are we all in a yellow submarine or something?
No, I heard the submarine sound, sonar.
Ah,
Okay. Go
okay.
ahead.
Back to the book. So this was my actual first published book, Noah's Wife, which and this is about that Noah, the one with the flood. And you have to know this in order to understand my story about how I came to write Behind the Magic Curtain, because this plays a part. And I wrote that book, and then I also wrote this book, which also has a small part in the play about how this came to be. This is Last Chance for Justice. It is also a nonfiction book. It's about the 16th Street church bombing case. And I wrote it because I found out I was that one of the primary investigators in this case, which took 40 years just about to find justice for those little girls that were killed in the bombing. But anyway, I found out one of the investigators was a friend of mine that I worked with in the police department, and that opened the door to tell this story. And at that point, it hadn't been told, so I told it. So this all started right after Last Chance for Justice was published, and I think at that point I was thinking about my police witch books. But an email came across my desk. I was still working at that time, and it was from people I didn't know who they were. It was a group of men, and I didn't know any of them. And so they were talking about the book, and the only thing I kept thinking, okay, book, me, maybe there's a connection, but I couldn't figure it out. So I wrote them back and said, gentlemen, I think you got me on your email list by mistake. You might want to, because that's happened to me before. And, I don't want to eavesdrop on your conversation. And then one gentleman who was an attorney in Birmingham jumped in and said, oh, no, we meant you to get this. Well, I later learned from someone who knew this man that he is really famous for doing that. He'll be talking on and on without giving you like the subject and verb of anything. So nobody had acknowledged my presence or said why they wanted me to be there. But anyway, they invited me to come to the law office of a pretty prestigious law firm in Birmingham, Cerroti and Permute. Now, if they'd said to come meet us at the corner bar, the book would never have happened. But I figured, all's well if you're going to Cerroti. So I said, okay, I'll come meet with you. I didn't want to be rude. So I went up to this fancy law firm and sat at this big old mahogany desk and sat there for a while. And Bill Thomason was the gentleman who has the reputation of forgetting to explain what he's talking about. And he was going on and on and on, and I'm still sitting there trying, like, you ever had dreams where you feel like you were maybe in school or somewhere where you're supposed to know what's going on, but you have no clue? That's how I felt. And so I kept trying to put it together. And finally I realized they're talking about a book. They want a book to be written, had been written, about the civil rights era in Birmingham, Alabama, that tells stories that have not been told or have been forgotten from a different perspective. And when I got it, I said, oh, okay, are you wanting me to write this book? Because nobody ever said that. And they said, yes. And I said, well, why did you pick me? And Bill again says, because of the book. Well, naturally, I assume he means this book, right? Civil rights book about Birmingham, something that happened in Birmingham. And I said, oh, well, really, I said, I did write this book, but I'm not a civil rights expert. I wrote this from my law enforcement background about the case. So I'm not sure I'm the right person for this. Oh no, Bill says, not that book. And then I'm like really curious. What book are you talking about? And he said, Noah's wife. And I said, well, excuse me, but what is the connection between Noah's wife and this civil rights book that you want me to write? And Bill said, well, I just finished Noah's wife. And anybody that can write about something that happened thousands of years ago and make me believe that it happened exactly like what was in this book is the person that we want to write this book.
Got it. Yay.
I know. And oh, okay. Well, I don't know. When you're a writer, and I'm sure you all have had the experience, and people start finding out that you're a writer,
Right.
they come to you and they say, oh, have I got the perfect story for you to write? Have you ever had that experience?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I felt like that. And okay, gentlemen, well, I'll think about it. but one of the men there were two attorneys, a minister, and a reporter for the Birmingham News during the 1960s. They were all elderly gentlemen. They'd all lived through this time period. And he said, can I, I had sort of a unique inside seat in the police department during this time because I was assigned to the police beat. And can I send you some stories? And I said, well, of course, again, I don't want to be rude, but so I went back to my little office and here comes this email with an attachment about a story. And the story just made my mouth drop open. And so I got hooked and I told him, Bill without the subject verbs. Bill thought it might take about 4 months to write this.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, but Bill, said, I don't think that's going to happen no matter who you get to write this book. And in truth, it took 8 years. And sadly, 3 of those 4 people have died. They all got to see the manuscript. Of course, 1 is still alive, but the 3 never got to see the actual book. It took me that long because I meant it when I said I wasn't a civil rights expert, but I am now. At least in Birmingham, I think I have a doctorate degree after 8 years, right, of studying. So that's how the book came to be, and it was really hard to figure out how to write this because Tom Langford, the reporter's stories were so intriguing. He before I'm going down the rabbit trail there, but that wasn't all of what they wanted me to write because Birmingham, there were people in Birmingham who did amazing things that have never been talked about. And so the book really encompasses a lot of different people. And I divide them up. There were people from different religious backgrounds. There were men and women. And at that time period, women they weren't in the business world, right? But they played amazing roles. And the business community actually did a lot. There was a large group of progressive businessmen in Birmingham. I found out all kinds of things. So somehow I had to mesh these stories that I had found with Tom Langford's story and what was going on with the Black movement with Martin Luther King in Birmingham, in order to make it, make sense and tie it to a timeline. So all of that went into this book. Now, you know why it took 8 years to do, but I'm really thrilled that it's done, and I'm very proud of it. And I started this without any realization that it would be considered timely. 8 years ago, I thought it was going to be just another civil rights book that maybe people would put on their shelves, and that would be it. But people from all walks of life have seemed to embrace this book. And so I'm very thrilled about that.
We're thrilled to showcase it too, TK. I mean, it's interesting to me because, always working with young people, I'm always amazed at how much they do not know about things that have happened just in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I had a group of kids in my youth group van and I said, hey, how about we listen to some Motown? And they go, what's
Motown? That? Yeah.
What? They did not know they didn't know who Smokey Robinson was. I was just like, oh my gosh, let me educate you. And they go, oh, you're so old school. They just thought I was just not with it at all. And I thought, can you imagine thinking of Motown is not with it, but it's fascinating. We need to study our history and maybe we can learn, from it. And right now we do, we need it more than ever. So thank you for writing this book. I hope everybody will check it out because it's very enlightening and really makes you think. It really makes you think. So what are we, besides the art, you've got something in the works as far as writing.
Yeah, and in the works, well, during the pandemic, like I said, I was really stuck. And then I started doing this art. This connects to the art. And I started with the Zen doodles. Okay. This is a square, y'all. They're on 3 by 3 inch pieces of paper that you do this little thing. And that's how I started doing art, period, was in February, doing this with a friend. I just said I would go to her class on Zendoodle to support her. I had no idea it was going to lead anywhere. But because they were so small, I felt kind of free to do whatever I wanted on them because, they're just 3 by 3 little pieces of paper. And because they were little, I felt okay doing them. But I couldn't write. I was stuck, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt that way. I guess it was all the stress and having to watch TV every day and see how many people had died. It just sent me to a place that I didn't have a desire to write. So an opportunity came up where somebody that I almost got to meet when the pandemic hit, because there was a conference in California and I was going to be on his panel with my police magic witch books. And it was a law enforcement panel. And anyway, but I never met him because everything got canceled 2 days into the first day of the conference, and we had to fly home. Oh. So he sent me an email and said a friend of his in Australia was trying to put together an anthology of short stories written by people in law enforcement. And he was really struggling, looking for some females. And would I mind submitting something? And I'm like, I don't have anything that would make sense for that. But this is what my mental self-talk was. Okay, TK, you're doing the little art. I call it tiny art. Okay, so you're doing the tiny art. Maybe a short story is a tiny story. Okay, you don't have to commit to doing, a book. You're just doing a short story. So I committed before I had any clue what to do. And then I started, so he said, great, I look forward to it. And I said, okay, now I have a deadline, so I got to do something. And I couldn't think of a character. Nothing was coming. And I said, okay, well, I'll just start with me. So yeah. I started with an old gray-haired lady who she's out, out on shoveling manure in the farm, and she used to be a police officer. She takes martial arts, and what happens? Well, I didn't know what was going to happen either, but I've always felt every time I go by a police car on the road and, they got the blue lights going and everything, I don't stop, but I look to make sure everything's okay, because it's just an instinct that you have to back up somebody if they needed help. I've never stopped and nobody's ever looked like they needed help, but I thought, what if I would stop? So my character's going to stop. And what's going to happen? Oh my God, she saw something. So she, some kind of flurry of movement. So she pulled off the road and then she backed up and she got out of the car just as the car that was stopped left. And she found what? Of course, she found the trooper's dead body. And so that was my the story goes on, but that was the inciting incident. And I wrote the short story and I turned it in, and it's also going to be in Mandy's anthology of stories in progress.
It's
And I said,
fantastic.
oh, thank you. So I said, well, maybe this little old lady could handle a book. So I haven't told anybody else, y'all, the first people I've told that I'm working on this. And I don't know how long it'll take because we have to get my art done, you know. But that's
I
what
know.
that's what I'm working on. And it's, you know, it's been kind of fun, but it's going very slow.
So you fictionalized yourself. Is it going to be
Yeah.
fiction?
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
Lord,
gonna be
yes.
fiction. And do we have a name for this character?
Well, her name, this is kind of temporary. I named her after a police officer that I know and love, whose name is Juanita. But actually, she has a friend, and they're going on a road trip to try to solve this, not this murder, but another murder that happens. And her friend's name is Theta. And so she calls her Thelma, and so her friend calls her Louise. So it's Thelma and Louise on a road trip to solve this mystery. So there's some humor in it too.
Oh, I know there's going to be humor if you're involved. Because you always tickle me, everything you do. I mean, I remember the first time I met you, I didn't really know what to think, you know. We were thrown into this house together at out in Fairhope, Alabama for this and we just had a blast. We just had the best time ever. And you're always going to be entertained if you're going to be with TK Thorne. I'm going to tell you. So pay attention, read her books. You're going to love every one of them. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about your art. You know, maybe you could bring a little bit of that into your fictionalized story.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you are muted.
Sorry, yeah, my husband was at the polls today as a poll watcher or a vote, you know, a voting helper person,
Not a pole dancer.
not a poll dancer, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. Anyway, I think he just pulled up because my dog is barking, so that's why I muted myself so you wouldn't have to hear the dog. Very excited there.
This is just what happens at our book club meetings because so many of us love animals. In fact, well, I had a cat right over here on my shoulder. It's gone. It ran when it heard the dog barking, I guess. But
Well, that's why I had to step away a second ago. My dogs had to go out. So
yeah, we're used.
that was my dogs barking, actually, TK. When I heard yours, I'm like, what? They're right here. They're oh, you're muted.
You can't hear me. I'm going to mute myself and yell at my dog. Hold on.
Okay. I want to know what she's yelling.
I wonder if she's a cursing. I hope.
Okay, you back?
Okay. Yeah, he actually
It
shut up.
worked.
Ah! Now, it could be my husband or it could be the horses coming into the front yard because they tend to do that.
I think maybe you might need to work the dog in too.
Well, I did definitely work the horses in.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah, there's a scene in the stall.
Yeah.
I love that story, TK.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. I'm so glad you did.
And tell us, what are your rescue horses' names?
Well, the older mare is Nikki Jones, and she gets her own name in the story. And the younger mare is Foxy, and Foxy is a thoroughbred rescue, and Nikki is a standardbred rescue.
Yep. And why did you do this? Why did you rescue these horses?
You know, I had a horse all my life. I wanted a horse. And when I finally became an adult, I got one, and his name was Dune. And we had a lot of adventures together. He saved my life a couple of times, and he almost killed me a couple of times. But I had him for 26 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Some point, I'd had him longer than I'd been married.
You've
But
been with
he-
your horse longer than your husband.
Yes, yeah, that was true. It's not true anymore because,
He's
fortunately,
gone.
my husband stayed alive. So eventually, he passed him. But
The horse.
when he, passed the horse in terms of longevity. When I lost him, I was heartbroken, and I'm sure you all know what it feels like to lose a beloved animal. And I just, my desire for having a horse wasn't there for a long time. My husband had a horse. His name is Apollo. So we finally asked our neighbor who's got other horses if she would take Apollo to keep him company because he was all alone. So, and he was just right next door, so we could go see him anytime we wanted to. Well, that worked out until one of her horses died, and she replaced it with a rescue gelding. And Apollo was not happy at this newcomer in his little herd. And so he was aggressive towards that horse who wasn't in good shape. And so she gave him back. So then we have this one horse who's, he's very unhappy. And I said, this isn't right. And, I did something that I never in a million years would have thought I would ever do. And that is, I went through a rescue, but I basically bought a horse at what they call a kill pen. It's where the horses go to be sold, like off the track or whatever. Or after the Amish are through with the horse, they sell them to these places. And if they don't get sold there, they go to Mexico for dog food. So I basically went online on a Facebook page and found a horse. And that was Foxy. And so she came from Louisiana, and Nikki Jones was riding with her. And when Nikki arrived, she was lame, and the person that bought her didn't want her. So the rescue person called me up and said, how would you like another mare? And I said, yeah, bring them on. So,
Cowboy.
right, yeah. And, it's funny because I thought, these horses don't have to be perfect. They don't, because I'm rescuing them, right? They just need a place to live the rest of their lives. And I can just, love on them, which I have been doing. But I've also started riding them a little bit. But the loving on them has been very healing for me. And I didn't realize how much I had missed that part of my life, because horses have always been a very important part of my life, even when I didn't have one. So that's the story.
That's a great story. I'm glad you shared it with us because it makes us have more empathy. Animals make us more human, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes.
Not all of us have horses, but a few of us now do. So you're going to get any more?
No. And I say that because this is enough. I mean, 3 horses is a lot to handle. And also our pasture isn't that big. So you can't have more horses than your pasture can sustain.
Right. That's good.
Well, I have 3 dogs, so I can't imagine 3 horses.
Yeah, I understand. At one time I had 5 dogs, so, rescue dogs, and that's too many. As we said constantly every day, we have too many dogs.
My little sister, my older sister always wanted a horse. And my dad would always because my sister, when he would tell her, one day we're going to have a horse. One day I'm going to get you a horse. One day. I got her a Christmas card a couple years ago, and it's a little blonde and brunette kid on the front, and it's like, Merry Christmas, guess what's under the tree? And when you open it up, it says, not a pony.
Oh,
Aw.
oh. Now I know
Just-
how that feels because I drove my parents absolutely crazy. I would never tell them anything I wanted. You too, Kathy, about a horse?
I didn't, I wanted a
They had no
car.
function.
I wanted a car and I never got it. You know, that's what I wanted, freedom. So, you know, but I got a car now.
Well, we
Yeah, that's
lived
right.
at a place where she could have a horse, and so, but she would always think she was going to get one. Well, Daddy said, and I'm like, in our backyard, like, Missy, come on. I mean, this is on up until we were. I mean, I'm 2 years younger, but I used to be like, God, you're so stupid. Like, is it
My-
going to live in our bedroom? Like, what? It's not.
What are we gonna do?
Yes.
Mr.
We
Ed,
lived in the suburbs. I'm sure my little sister was saying the same thing. Kathy, was your Kathy Ramsberger? I'm sorry. Was that your?
I was horse crazy, and my cousin had 3 horses, and I was always going to get a horse. My uncle even broke a Palomino pony for me,
Mm.
like a small horse. It wasn't really a pony. And I still didn't get it. They said it was too wild. He couldn't break it enough for me.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not a good lead in to your first horse.
Well, I could ride, it was just that I hadn't owned a horse. I rode all the time, but it's different. It's like going and house sitting, cat sitting, or dog sitting versus having your own.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late, honey.
Well, I got to get my knee to the point that it'll go from a trot to a canter. And
Your
if I
knee.
do that, maybe so.
Yeah, I understand the body parts don't keep up with how we remember that they're supposed to do. Got it.
maybe you've got a horse story in you. You know, you've gone around the planet with all your different genres. You
And
maybe
outside.
and outside, and maybe it's the next National Velvet or Black Beauty or whatever. That would be interesting. Anything you're going to tackle is going to be interesting, Teresa. I am firmly convinced of that, right, Mandy?
Yes,
Yes.
I
So
agree.
your story is going to be in the book, which it's finished, right, Mandy? Work in progress is done.
Yes. Yes. So I'm sent out. Yep. Just waiting for some galleys to just give it one more read through. And Jonathan Hope's sending us the afterward. I'm going to add that. But I went on and sent the stories in because we had over 500 pages.
It's
Oh my
gonna be-
gosh.
But
Yeah, we have over. I can't remember now. I think it's 54. No, 59. Dang, I can't remember. It's over 50 authors submitted.
Wow.
Public Queens and Timber Guys. So you guys, this is the book that you need to keep in your car because anytime you need to read, you can pick up.
For real.
Oh my gosh,
So-
yeah, and like some of them are like 2 pages, 4 pages. There's a couple that are longer, but I mean, it is perfect to keep in your car because you could just read and you they're not in any order. So there's like fiction, nonfiction, memoir. There's suspense, some thrillers. There's actually a couple of like fantasy. Well, one so it's like, you just.
Well, that's what we read everything, all genres, both men and women's books.
Well, that's what's so great to have it in one collection. And so somebody asked me, did you put them in order? No, I did not. I put them as they came because that just kind of went with the whole feel of what I wanted to do. And I put the bios directly after the story. So after you read the story, you read the description and then the bio. So it's sort of like you're right there with that person.
cool.
It's so cool. I'm excited. If you can't
We're
tell.
very excited about it, but this is Mandy did all the work on this, all of it. I mean, every bit. She told me what she wanted to do and I said, let's do it. And I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. She put her own writing on the back burner to get this out. So please, everybody, support her on this wonderful Public Queen and Timber Guy endeavor. and excited about that. We've got our program done for our annual convention, and every author that comes to our convention will be mentioned in the program. So even if you're not a book of the month or bonus book of the month or international book of the month,
Or
we
on a panel.
everybody to come this year, because we think there's a lot of things happening that you all are going to want to be a part of as this book club storms the planet. I mean, that's really what's happening. We are expanding in leaps and bounds with it. And it's funny, a lot of people thought going virtual was going to be disappointing, and it actually was very enlightening, because we were able to bring in more book club members from out of the country and more authors from out of the country. And so we will always have that aspect, even when it does finally open up, that we can do this. So everybody come, you'll get, Mandy's going to put you in the program, and it's up at readingnation.com, which is another endeavor that Mandy has taken on board as the executive director. That is it. Every issue, my mouth is hanging open, because I just don't even know how she has time to do all this, plus all your other jobs, because she does other magazines and she's doing a lot of other work for other authors and people and putting books together. So Mandy is, I think you're a freaking genius, Mandy.
Are crazy.
I
But I
think-
will tell you something cool. So they used to be the Writers by the Sea. It's the Amelia Island Writers Association wants me to speak about the Reading Nation magazine. They just sent an email.
Nice.
Because
Wow.
they are just so impressed by it. And that's like, what a great way to promote authors. And yeah, so
Is it going to be a live event, a speaking, or a
it's
Zoom?
going to be in June. I just got the email. They wanted to talk about the books. They want to talk about work in progress, about my stuff, my 2 short stories that I've done. And then she said, and Read a Nation. It just blew my mind. It's in June. So, because they have our book, so it'll be a live thing.
Well, we need to know about that so everybody can get on board and support you, Mandy. And tell them a little bit about where you live too, because she lives on an island off the coast of Florida, and there's some pretty famous people that are living there. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities, including John Grisham is on the island. So it's not very big, right? It's
only, I think it's 13 miles long and 4 miles wide.
And there she is, right in the middle of it all. And here I am in Texas. And for all you authors out here who may be listening, please don't send the books to just me, because I have to send them to Florida. So, and I don't get out much. I went to the post office. Your package is coming Friday, Mandy. It's a big box. So I had to send people's books because they sent them to me and not to her. And it just slows down the process of us getting them read. But anyway, it's all up on the website. You can read all about it. But I'm very proud of what we've accomplished during this time of COVID. It's difficult, and I'm very excited that our Girlfriend Weekend is going to, and Book Club Convention is going to feature so many other people like Kim that are,
Yes.
championing, helping authors. Kim, introduce yourself, because have you been to a meeting before? I don't think.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I came to Girlfriend Weekend, I want to say 2019. It was 2019. I have a dear friend who lives in Karnak, Texas.
Oh my
I
God.
know. He's from Karnak, born and raised. Let me tell you, his name is John Fortune. Anyway, if you
I
come
know
across,
who that is. Okay.
yeah,
That's right next to Uncertain, Texas.
yes,
Which
yes.
is famous
So-
on, yeah.
So I was thrilled to come that weekend, and I stayed at John's house and got to see the whole area that I'd been hearing him talk about forever, and meet you all. And Johnny Bernhard dragged me into this. So, because I was at
She does that.
I was at Texas Review Press, and I published her first 2 books.
Love Johnny. Love her.
So yeah, so that's how I found you in the first place.
Well, she's going to have a panel of authors at our convention, and we've got 2 publishers who are going to be doing a panel. We've got bloggers, we've got podcasters, we've got publisher insiders, we've got the Dolly Parton Imagination Library coming with Executive Director David Dotson. We've got Jonathan Hote. I just pinch myself black and blue thinking, how do I get these people? I'm very persuasive. I'm like, I never burn a bridge. I just go, okay, you can't come this year, but maybe you could do this. And I just keep going until they say yes.
Yes.
So it took me a long time to get Dolly Parton's people there, but they know all about me because I'm like that pesky mosquito that just keeps coming back,
Yeah.
But that's how you get things done, people. It's persistence in believing in something and helping. I believe that, I always say books saved me. They really did. I think that if I hadn't had them to escape into, my life would have been a lot different. And I think that if everybody becomes a reader, they can figure things out. It's like the poor man's psychiatry couch. And it has been for me, and I figured out a lot of things. But just like TK, it has been hard for me this year reading. And I've read more than I've ever read before because we've gotten so many books, haven't we, Mandy? It's been hard for me reading because it's hard to keep that stream of collective time going when we're flitting here and there because of anxiety and worry. And I told everybody at one of these meetings that finally I just couldn't handle it any longer and told my doctor. She goes, well, I'm putting you on an antidepressant. Okay, I'm back to reading now. I feel good. It's a very low dose one, but there's nothing wrong with getting some help sometimes, whether you go to a therapist or a doctor. And I tell people that this is tough, man, what we're going through. So it's really helped me focus on things that I need to do. And then I've got Mandy who hears me every day going, oh no, woe is me. What are we going to do? She's the voice of reason. She's wonderful. So
Awesome.
anyway, TK, we're excited about your art and we hope you'll share more with it. Maybe you'll share this week on the Pulpit Queen Presents some of your art. I think everybody would be amazed. And I also,
I'm sorry.
I know, I also believe that if you're talented in one thing, you can be talented in many things. And that is not our parents' generation thought. You became one thing, you did it your whole life, and then you retired. Well, hello, retirement. I don't know anybody who's retired anymore my age. They're all working till they split the planet, but I'm just saying the truth, my life's an open book. But I think that would be really nice because perhaps down the road you'll even illustrate a cover.
Who knows what'll happen with this? It's so interesting what you said about our generation. I was thinking about that when I was trying to summarize my life. That I've had 2 paying careers, if you will, and that doesn't count books, believe me.
Right.
But today, I think so many young people, they do not have the same either work ethos or the same idea about a job that we did. They bounce from one job to another job, and so much of who I thought I was tied up in what I did.
Right.
When the first time you meet somebody, it's like, well, what do you do? What they really mean is, who are you? And now, and I always thought, no matter what I was doing, when I was a police officer, when I was like the executive director of a small business nonprofit, in the back of my mind or in my heart, it was like, I'm none of these things, y'all. I'm a writer. And then when the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden that came crashing down, it's like, well, who did you say you were? What am I? And so to find out that you can do you can express yourself in lots of different ways. It's a very powerful thing. So,
Well, you're storytelling through art, because every one of those art works that you showed us had a story. You were telling about where it was, and this is Charlie's Galaxy, and
yeah,
everything has a story.
yes.
And that's why
yeah.
I added on to my mission storytelling through the arts, because, you know, I was kind of like, once my kids left, what am I now? I was always a mom.
Yeah.
My kids always called me Momster, because instead of monster, Momster.
Oh,
And because
wow.
I was tough, you know, I was like, no, you're not going to do that. And well, all the other kids aren't. And I go, that's the other kids, you know. So, but after they left, it's like, now what am I? And then I went through a divorce. And then I'm not a wife, I'm not a mother. Now what am I? So I went back to school. And now I'm doing the thing that I've always wanted to do. I'm an artist, but I'm also promoting authors. That's, you know, I've never professed that I'm a writer. I just wrote the story because I wanted people to recognize that authors that are first book authors or haven't been discovered in a big way, nobody's championing that cause. And if there's anything I want to be known for, besides being a good mother, my kids, I hope you're hearing that, is that I helped authors get a little push into the limelight. And, you know, and some of them we've had great success. So this summer of 2022, I am actually going to start the Pulpwood Queen Film Festival back up, because so many of our authors' books have gone to film or gone to HBO or Netflix. In fact, I don't know if you saw the post today, everybody, but
Yeah.
I've been trying to get a hold of Revis Wortham, who's been my co-host for my convention when we had it live for years, and I couldn't get a hold of the guy. And he's got this big mobile home, and I thought, oh, he's running around the country. Well, come to find out, he's been working on a Netflix series up north of me, the prequel to Yellowstone. And he said, oh, he's just had the wonderful time with Sam Elliott
Oh
and
my gosh.
Tim. And I'm going, Tim, I'm thinking he's talking about the director. Well, today I shared the trailer for 1883, which is the new Netflix series based upon the story of how this all began. The Tim is Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are in it. I mean, it's got all these amazing people. And I said, well, he's got that handlebar mustache, you know. I said, so what were you, an outlaw? He goes, they made me a dandy bartender. I go, what? He goes, I'm wearing a